talking about episode 15 of season 17 of Deadliest Catch. And the three boats that are going to be in this episode is the Cornelium Ree, Time Bandit, and the Summer Bay. And this episode starts out with Jonathan talking about injuries and what's to come in this episode. And in this episode, 3 crew members on 2 different boats get injured, and a pot breaks off while it's being craned over the crew, falls onto the rail and into the sea. This episode is going to be crazy. This episode starts out with the Summer Bay. They're hauling some gear, and Wild Bill's like, I want some of my guys to step up into Landon's former position, being reliable and really good at what he does. Because that's what Landon was when Nick McLaughlin was the deck boss. Landon was Nick McLaughlin's right-hand man, and Wild Bill and Landon want someone to step into that position and be Landon's right-hand man. Wild Bill and Landon want Clayton, a deckhand on the Summer Bay, to step into that role as Landon's right-hand man. One of the steps to get that position is throw the hook the pots to bring them on deck so they can go through. That's the heart and soul of a crab boat's operation, is the guy who throws the hook to retrieve the pots. Clayton, he throws the hook and he gets it on the first one, and then he struggles for a little bit and keeps missing the pot, so Wild Bill is going at a snail's pace for him to catch him, and he's still missing, so Wild Bill just gets frustrated and he's like, put someone else on the rail. Then it goes to the Cornelium Ree, and the Cornelium Ree is starting to go through their gear, and they have an offload date, so they need to get their boat loaded pretty full so they can go into town and do their offload. They're hauling in their gear, and they start stacking the gear, and they're going to move it into some different grounds. And their deck boss, who got injured, I think it was in the last episode, he had something not so good happen, so they had called the doctor on shore, and the doctor recommended giving him antibiotics and stuff to help him with it, and Casey had to give him a shot to help deal with the infection or whatever it was that was going on. They send him back down and they all start fishing. It goes back to the Summer Bay. The Summer Bay is going through their gear, and after Wild Bill had pulled Clayton off, he gives him another try, and it's the same thing. So he pulls them off, and they're doing pretty good with the amount of crab they're catching. Then it goes to the Time Bandit, and the Time Bandit is hauling in their gear, and they also have a offload in about 50 to 56 hours. They start going through the gear, and Jonathan was originally going to have them go through the gear. They were going to move it or something, but he decides to set the gear back because he's getting 90 to 100 Opelio crab. And he's like, that's good enough for me. So he starts sending pots back, and while that happens, they're hauling in a pot. And the crane, he picked it up at the wrong time, and the 800-pound pot goes swinging, and it takes out Philip Hillstrand. And Philip stays out there a little bit, but then it's just too painful, so he goes back in. And then it goes back to the Summer Bay, and Wild Bill is going through the gear, and while Clayton was hauling in a pot, the buoy, it slips, and his finger is caught in between the block and the pot line. So he goes in and starts icing it, and he'll be good in a day. They go back to hauling their gear. And then it goes to the Cornelium Ree, and their deck boss, he comes up to the wheelhouse, and Josh and Casey are like, we need you out there because we need a leader to help set our gear. And they're going to be setting their gear in 90 to 100 plus fathoms, which is 800 plus feet. And normally they set their gear in 50 to 80 fathoms, so this is quite a big difference. They're adding a whole nother shot to the line, and there's already 3 shots attached to the pot, so that's gonna make fishing really hard for them, and they could potentially lose their pots. They're gonna do this to 120 pots. With the weight of the current and the water, they could lose their pots, and if they lose all their pots, that could be a $150,000 mistake, which is not good. That would really cut into their bottom line. Setting their gear, and after they've got the first pot on the pot launcher, their deck boss is moving a pot and he moves the wrong lever and the pot gets caught on another pot on the stack and it snaps the cable on the crane and the pot hits the side rail and falls over into the Bering Sea to never be recovered again. And that pot is about a $1,500 mistake that happened. The deck boss is not happy, and then Josh and Casey are asking if everyone's okay, and he's like, yeah, everyone's good. They have to go up and fix the crane, add a whole new cable to it to work again. Then it goes back to the Time Bandit, and the Time Bandit is hauling in gear, and they're getting mid to high hundreds, even a little over 200 on some of the pots, while Eddie Jr. and another deckhand were pushing the sorting table is moving really fast, and it stops suddenly and he goes flying and hurts his groin area. So the Time Bandit is down 2 crew members, so Jonathan's like, we're gonna go in a little light and get our crew taken care of and do our offload. So after that, they start heading back in town to offload their Opelio crab. And then it goes back to the summer bay. This was during a little commercial break, like a salty take. It showed Landon and another crew member having fun in the bow section where they store all their rain gear and tools and other things that they need. They have a buoy bag filler upper, and Landon, he takes it and he just blows it in his hair. His hair is like all spiked up, and it was really funny, and he does it to his other deckhand on the boat, and they're having a good time, and they're all laughing, and Landon's like, this feels so good. So that was that little bit. And then it goes back to the Time Bandit, and the Time Bandit is in Dutch Harbor. Eddie Jr. comes back from the hospital, and he's out for the season with a groin injury, so he's done this season. And then Philip Hillstrand, who had gotten injured, he has a separated shoulder and some stuff going on. He told Jonathan about it, and Jonathan said that I used to work through these kinds of injuries. A lot of people did, but he was like, I worked through 2 hernias and all kinds of other injuries. And when he talked with Philip, he was like, you can either stay on the boat and work, finish this season out, or you can go home. And Philip was like, I'm gonna go home. And after this, you're never gonna be hired back on this boat. And Philip was like, after this season, I'm done fishing. After that whole situation happened, he was like, we made it into dock with like 45 seconds before we would have been passed up and had to wait for 14 days just to get another offload date. Waiting 14 days, a lot of the crab in that tank would not have survived, because you have like a week plus to get them back into harbor to offload them. Then it goes back to the summer bay, and Landon and Wild Bill are giving him some tips up in the wheelhouse and like giving him some confidence and all that. Clayton and the crew go out and they start going through their gear, and Clayton is hitting every single time he throws, and he's growing into the role that Wild Bill and Landon want him to be. And then it goes to the Cornelia Marie, and the Cornelia Marie is hauling in their gear that's in 90 to 100 fathoms, and they're having a hard time finding the pots because the waves are so big that it's pulling the buoys under the water. They find one pot and haul it in, and it's just, the tides are ripping. It's just creating many headaches for them. Just to haul in 2 pots, it took them 30 minutes, and they're getting 500 plus to 400 Opelio crab per pot, so they're really happy about that. But they're like, this was a really big risk. We could have lost $115,000 to $150,000 just in crab pots. And then it shows like a day later or a couple hours later, the seas have kind of gone down, so it's a little easier fishing for them. That was the last little bit of the show, and then it shows some stuff that's going to happen in the coming episodes of Season 17 of Deadliest Catch. I hope you guys enjoyed this review of Episode 15 of Season 17 of Deadliest Catch. Don't forget to hit the bell icon down below so you can be notified when I upload videos. Also, please share this video with your friends and family. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and don't forget to smash the like button. Thank you guys for watching, and if you ain't dreaming, you ain't living. Don't forget to dream big.